Hello again, guys. For this part of the tutorial, I'll be talking about drum fills and any sort of filling elements being used with percussion within the song to sort of build from section to section. So first off, I'm going to actually add a building snare at the build parts. So I'm just going to create a new simpler out of a snare drum that I created. So let's just get this. Let's see. Yeah, there we go. So this is pretty much just going to be doing a 30-second note sort of sweeping up kind of building point here. So I'm just going to add a MIDI clip at the build. So I can kind of eyeball where my build's at because of the structure of the song. I can see these right here, so I know that's with the bass, I can tell that's where the build's at. So basically second half through that, I'm going to start adding these. So I'm just going to duplicate these throughout the entire point. Just a really fast up-pitching snare drum. I'm just going to cut off at where the instruments drop out right here. So we're going to just cut that there. And I like to pitch up within the within simpler. Some people like using sampler to use the pitch bend, but I much prefer using make sure I unwarp that. I'm fine with just using the transpose. So I mean, sometimes you can get different effects from different samplers, but I'm cool with this one. So I'm gonna go up plus 24, and then I'm going to let's just listen to that real quick.
Slice, drop that shit like Mike. I know flex like David. I see no ET swipe this bike. I stay on that light. I stay icy like I'm stuck in limbo, cause that's the shit.
Yeah, I think that sounds good. So next I'm just going to add an auto filter because I feel like there's too much high end going on within the first part of that, and I just want to filter it in. So I'm just going to add an auto filter here.
I'm stuck.
Maybe starting about 200 hertz, so it's just you can kind of start to hear it, but it's still subtle enough to sound like more of a fade in. Let's check that. I'm just gonna add a bit of a compressor here.
Drop that shit like Kimbo. I stay icy like.
Let's see.
I stay icy. I'm stuck in limbo, cause that's the shit that I know.
All right, so next I'm gonna add this. First off, I'm gonna add this snare to the other build, but also I'm going to start by adding just more transitional drum fills, just pretty much just the classic like drum kit drum fill sort of thing. A lot of people will use acoustic drums for this. Other times people will just use samples that they find from kits and whatnot. But for this one in particular, I'm going to use some drums that I actually found within Ableton Live Sounds, or just like samples from their kit. So the first snare is actually this one from the MPC. So let's see. Yeah, that's an Ableton Live snare that I found. So sounds pretty crummy, but we're gonna make it sound pretty cool. You don't really want something too present with these fills. So pretty much I'm going to just add
That's the shit that I know.
Add this right before the drop here.
That I know.
I'm just gonna do a so I'm gonna have two more drum samples on the same channel. I'm going to also add this other tom. So I found these within the Ableton library. So let's see. Okay, tom 2. So you can start to kind of hear that, just basic drum fill. So next I'm gonna process these. So let's see here. I'm gonna add a bit of a reverb to this. Not too much, just something kind of subtle here. Then a bit of OTT, just because I feel like it's a bit lacking compression. I kind of want to compress these a little harder, so I'm going to add a saturator for more harmonics and to sort of bring up a bit of the volume of the drum fill. Just gonna keep this on analog clip here, and then push this up by 4.50 decibels. Put the soft clip on. Not really trying to reserve much of the transients of these fills. It's not a prominent drum sound. So then next I'm going to add just a regular compressor to commence compression. Okay, so that's sounding pretty good to me. So I'm going to copy this over to the end of the drop. So pretty much just gonna copy this throughout most of the song. I know it's kind of the same fill, and some people like altering fills. Personally, sometimes I do alter the fills. I generally prefer it, but in this instance, I just feel like it, it's not too much of a prominent factor for the song to have a variety of drum fills. So I'm just gonna kind of keep one throughout the whole thing consistently. Basically, before each section, it's gonna just have a fill.
Flex like Kimbo Slice, drop that shit like Mike. I know flex like David. That's the shit that I know. That's the shit that I know.
That's sounding good. Let's see this last one here. That's sounding good to me. So next I'm going to start to add a different sort of building element to this. Let's see. So let's see here. So I'm going to create another MIDI track, pull in another snare. This is going to be another build element, so it's going to go during the build. I put a lot of my drum fills during the build. Some people don't refer to those as drum fills, but I do, just because that's the way it feels to me, is that the building snares are essentially drum fills, but other people feel like, oh, it's just a regular, should go in the regular drum group, but it's all subjective. It's all depending on what you like and how you feel. So let's see here. Try to find another snare that me and my friend created a while ago. Bleezy snare 2. Gonna drop this into simpler here. I kind of have these pre-made MIDI that I have for certain elements that I like to keep consistent throughout my music. So there's like this little build MIDI that I created. I'm gonna drag this in. Put it during this part of the drop here. So
I stay on that light, ay. I stay icy like I'm stuck in limbo, cause that's the shit that I know.
So as you can hear, it's kind of building
Kimbo Slice, drop that shit like Mike.
With the other one as well. So it's just sort of adding to the elements of the build and filling it up almost. So I'm gonna keep adding to this here.
Kimbo Slice, drop that shit like Mike. I know flex like David. See no
just the volume here.
I stay on that light, ay. I stay icy like I'm stuck in limbo,
and I'm just gonna add this part to kind of keep a consistency here going. I'm gonna add this part of that fill before when the drums come in the intro, just because I feel like it's kind of just like a classic trap snare roll sort of thing that they do a lot with like 808 snares, where they pitch it down, and it just, it's classic kind of cliche thing that I like to reference.
You done got me feeling folk. I got heaters on my dash.
I'm just gonna copy this to the other build as well. Let's see here. So then I'm gonna add one more building element in terms of the drum fills here. So let's see. Let's add one more snare fill, I should say. So just basically in the same area here, I'm just gonna start by adding another snare that I created. So let's see. Just gonna add this one. It's gonna just sort of be just a classic snare build here. Just gonna bring the volume up on this one. Move this guy over here.
Slice, drop that shit like Mike. I know flex like David. See no ET sweat this bike. I stay on that light. I stay icy.
Basically halfway through here, I'm gonna double time this. Just gonna cut that to indicate where that starting point is.
I stay on that light. I stay icy like.
And then double time this one again.
I'm stuck in limbo. I'm stuck in limbo.
Just gonna do this.
I'm stuck in limbo. That's the shit that I know. I'm stuck in limbo. That's the shit that I know.
Just copy this over. That's pretty much it in terms of the building elements here. There's one more sort of building element I kind of want to add just for a background effect almost. It's sort of like it's sort of going to resemble kind of like a riser, but I'm going to obtain this with the percussion here. So I'm going to add this little stomp loop that I created at my friend's place, field recorder and everything. So it's kind of an airy sort of stomp thing with the way it was like processed. So I'm going to pull this in here. It's kind of a subtle sort of thing. I'm gonna bring it down just a tad here. So it's gonna sit in the background. But what I'm gonna do with this one is I'm actually gonna add a corpus to have sort of an overtone harmonic that will pitch up to add to the rise. So just gonna pull up a corpus. So definitely a handy tool if you want to add a sort of certain elements to whether or not it's percussion sounds or drops and sounds. It's a really cool sort of feature that Ableton Live has. So I'm just gonna switch this here to string because I really like the way that sounds. I'm gonna bring the dry wet down to probably about 12% just because I don't want it to be too present. Then I'm just going to start pitching it up by automating the tune here. As you can tell, it's basically creating a rise. Then I'm going to add a reverb just to sort of reverb it out a bit. Let's go back to this filter here because I feel like a little too much going on with that. It's too present. So that's sounding good. Bring down the dry wet here. I always turn on quality to high. And then I'm going to EQ out some of the low end here because I don't want to conflict too much with the other sort of bass sounds we have going on during the build. So just gonna do kind of a low cut right here. Cut a little bit of the low mids as well because it's a little bit of a that's kind of where the most of the presence of the sound is right kind of in this area. Just gonna bring that down a little bit. Turn to oversampling mode just because. Going to add a nice compressor right afterwards. kind of press it a bit more. That feels good. I'll see how this sounds in the context of everything. So it's almost adding a background sort of rise. Let me bring this up a little bit more. Drop that shit like Mike. I know flex like David. See no ET swipe this bike. I stay on that light. I stay icy like I'm stuck in limbo. 'Cause that's the shit that I know. I'm actually gonna add this one to the drums group just because I sort of want it to sit with where the drums are as opposed to the percussion. So I'm just gonna add that there and then group these guys together to make the percussion group. So we'll just title that now percussion. Well, that's not percussion. My apology. The drum fills. It's all technically percussion, but we'll just call it drum fills. So I don't want it to sit with where the drum fill are sonically. I'd rather it sitting where, like, basically in the drum groups. Just an organizational thing on my part. So next, what I'm going to do is process the group similarly to how I was processing everything else. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to be adding a what I'm going to do first and foremost, basically I'm going to add an auto filter. So whenever it builds, it's just going to kind of filter out all those lows, like high pass filter basically, and just building tension before that drop and able to sort of sweep up with everything else and with the feel of the build. So I'm just going to add that right now. Probably going to cut up to around 200 hertz. So we'll just start by putting in 200 there. That's the shit that I know. So we still want the low end to be in there because you can tell there's that tom fill there that I created earlier. So start by sweeping this up. Going to automate this on right here. Slice, drop that shit like Mike. I know flex like David. Just gonna also copy over just the automation from this part with what the filter is doing to the second half as well. I'm actually gonna apply this to more of the groups because there's certain groups that have too much low end going on during that build. So I'm just gonna actually do that now. Copy the auto filter to the other things such as the vocals. I put this before the EQ here. It's sort of optional depending on how you want it to sound. I kind of like putting it before stuff just so the saturator resaturates it. It's not taking too much from it. All right, so now that that's added to the desired groups that I wanted to add it to, I'm going to process the rest of the initial drum fill group. So what I'm going to do first with the group settings here is I'm going to actually add a compressor just to compress down the drum fills a bit. Not anything too crazy. You don't want to overdo it. I don't want to squash the drum fills. Then next I'm going to add an EQ to actually cut a little bit of the low end out. Not too much though, because there's still drum fills and I still want them to be present. So not much of a cut on that. And then lastly on this group, I'm going to add a saturator to add the harmonics that I want with soft sine and soft clip on. So after that, something I forgot to do in the last video in terms of the vocals, which I noticed here, was I forgot to send the vocals to the sidechain. So I'm just going to do that now. By sending to sends only and bringing this up all the way. So now the vocals will not interfere with the kick drum. Slice, drop that shit like Mike. I know flex like David. I stay on that light. I stay easy like I'm stuck in limbo.
I know.
So as you can tell, the song's sounding quite complete as is, but we still have to go over making effects and additional mixing and mastering that I have to do for this song. So catch me in the next video for when I talk about adding effects and mixing and mastering.